Hello, welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning into this video. Today I'm doing this makeup look and I'm using a few products that are newer to me that I haven't used a whole lot yet and that I just wanted to show you and talk about and share my thoughts and impressions of them so far. I have a few of the products from the new Buxom White Russian collection. I have the palette here, I have the lipstick, and I have the new White Russian highlighter as well, so I'll be using those. And I also have the new Kosas Cloud Set powder, so I'll be using that and sharing my thoughts on it. And also the Bite Upswing Mascara. So those are the newer products that I'll be using and talking about. So if you'd like to see that, just keep on watching. All right, so I already have my foundation on and concealer. I put a little bit of the Glow Lust by Auric on my cheeks and forehead first, right after my skincare, and then I mixed a little bit of that as well with the Gucci foundation, so that's my base, and then a little bit of the Armani Power Fabric concealer. So that's what we have on so far. And to start out with the new-ish things that I'm trying out, I'm going to be using this Buxom White Russian palette on my eyes. I wanted to start out with the eyes anyway, and this was kind of an impulse buy for me. I got it through Shoppers Drug Mart, which is where I get a lot of my makeup and so on, and I really like this color scheme. These are really the types of colors that I'm very drawn to, these sort of nude pinks and dusty sorts of earthy kind of colors. So I just really wanted to try it. And I was able to use some points toward it, so I didn't feel too bad about purchasing it. So I'm starting with Take a Dip, which is this really light matte shade here. And that's on my Sonia G Classic Crease, and I'm just putting that all over the lid. Doesn't really have any color that's going to show up on my eyelid, but it's a nice way to just provide a smooth base and set down a little bit of that concealer that I had brought up to the lid. I think there might have been a tiny bit of a darker shadow still on this brush. You can see a little bit of sort of grayness coming through on that eye, but I'm just gonna try to cover it up a little bit, and it shouldn't really affect the final results anyway. Next, I want to go into Reveal, this one here, on the same brush, Classic Crease. And just putting that in the transition area. I think this color would show up a little bit stronger if I hadn't put that cream color underneath it, but I'm okay with this. I actually like a really lightly colored shadow like this, if it's in the right tone. This palette reminds me a lot of the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette, which was one of the first bigger palettes that I ever bought. And I really love the colors in that because it's in that color scheme that I like, and it can give me a nice natural sort of nude pinky eye look. But I didn't love the quality of those shadows so much. I found it just took so much building to get what I wanted from them, and then there must have been something in the pigments that irritated my eyes a little bit too, because I would always have really runny eyes when I used that palette. So I've kind of been on the hunt for palettes that give me the same sorts of colors as the Naked 3, and also, you know, a bit of a lighter pigmentation than a lot of my other palettes like Natasha Denona and so on, which I love, but they're quite strongly pigmented, and sometimes you just want something that is really buildable rather than something that's going to give you that sort of bam initial impact of color. And I'm finding that this Buxom palette is doing that for me. It's more buildable. Next, I want to go into this color here, which is called Decadent. And I'm gonna continue on with the same brush. and just not blend it up quite as high as I took that other color. Sometimes nice and just a bit more relaxing to use shadows like this where you're just gradually building, adding a little bit darker each time. Takes a bit longer, but it can be easier in a way. Now I'm taking my mini booster and I'm going to go into this one, Smoke Show, which is a sort of satiny shade, but I really like the depth of it, so I'm just gonna use it as I would a matte to darken up the outer corner and a little bit of the crease, to just add a little bit more definition and smokiness. And then to further deepen up, right on the outer corner, I'm going to use After Dark, which looks like, it kind of looks like it's a matte with little sparkles in it. And it's sort of a very deep eggplanty color with maybe a little bit of brown in it. And I want to go quite sparingly with this. Does feel a little bit drier than the other shadows, which is not surprising given the color of it. It seems to be blending fairly nicely. I'm still going to blend over it with another color though. I'm going to go back with the classic crease into that Smoke Show. Just lightly take it over where I put that deepest color, just to soften it a little bit. There, I think that's quite nice. And now for the main lid color, the only one that I haven't used yet is this one, and it's a true metallic and it's called Indulge. So for this, I'm going to use my Rephr 21 brush. And that's really nice. Nice sort of dusty rose gold type shade. I think that's a really nice, just soft look. The other thing with this palette too, of course, is that you could use these blushes on your eyes too. I'm sure that would be nice. And they're just a little bit more vibrant and pink than the eyeshadows. So I think if you wanted to add more of those types of colors in, that could work really nicely on the eyes too. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this. I think that's really nice, really simple, but it looks very smooth and it's giving me that nice nude smoky eye that I really do like. Now for the lower lash line, I'm going to take my flat definer. So for the lower lash line, I think I'm going to start with Reveal and just see what that does. Sometimes colors can show up a lot stronger on my lower lash line. So yeah, it's not really strong, but it's showing up more quickly than it did on the lid. And that's a nice base for underneath the eye. Okay, and then going into Decadent, which is that sort of one step darker. And just keeping it a little bit closer to the lash line, but still pulling it all the way along. Suppose I could have started with this and then blended out with the other one, but this works too. And then for just defining a little bit more at the outer corners, I'm gonna mix these two. With focusing a bit more on the lighter of those two shades. This is really my standard method for an eye look. Just change up the shades, but I pretty much keep this technique for most of my eye looks. I think it's one of the more flattering shapes that I can do on my eyes. Okay, I'll put a little bit of liner with the powder, so I'm going to use that deepest shade called After Dark. I just want to strengthen the metallic a little bit, so I've wiped off that brush and going into that Indulge shade, which was the metallic I put all over the lid, and just reinforcing it, but not going over top of the liner shade I put on. There we go. So that's what we have for the eyeshadow. I'm gonna do my waterline and then I'm gonna do my mascara with you, so I'll be right back. The waterline is finished. I used the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk eyeliner. It's a nice burgundy color that I think goes really well with this type of eyeshadow and these colors of eyeshadow. For mascara, I'm using this Bite Upswing mascara, and I have used this several times. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of it, but I bought it because I'd seen a lot of people using it and it's looked really amazing on them, so I wanted to try it. And it does have the kind of brush that I'm not a huge fan of. It's one of those bigger brushes that I just find a little bit, there's too much potential for messiness with this size of brush for me, but let's give it a shot. It does give really nice immediate volume and length, I will say that, and it's a nice dark black color. I just don't think it's anything that amazing. There's one from the drugstore, the Essence Lash Princess. I think it's called the False Lash Effect Mascara. It's a black tube with sort of mint green writing on it. I find that's an amazing mascara, and it does about the same as this one, so, which is quite expensive, this one. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I will go through it anyway. It's not bad. And you can see it does give quite a strong effect on the lashes. Now, moving on to powder. This is another newer product that I have, and this I actually just got yesterday, so it's very new. I did use it yesterday, so this is not a full first impressions. This is the Kosas Cloud Set, and I have it in the shade Airy. So I wanted to test this out because I'm always interested in sort of light finishing powder type products, and I really like the Kosas concealer, so I thought it would be neat to try this powder as well. So I've just taken a little bit on my Wayne Goss artist brush, the medium one, and I'm just going to powder my nose and sweep it under the eyes. I was hoping that this would be a little bit glowier than it is, but it is actually mattifying. It doesn't look cakey or heavy at all. Like you can barely detect it on the skin, except that it does just mattify slightly and it smooths over your pores a little bit. So if that's something that you like or are looking for in a powder, I think you might really like this. I have Airy, which is the lightest shade, of course, but they have, I think, 6 more shades in the range. So yeah, you can see it doesn't really add coverage, but it does just smooth over, and it doesn't remove all the shine either. I can still see all the shine from that Glow Lust product, and the skin doesn't look flat at all. So maybe I like this a little bit more than I thought I did yesterday. As I said, this is only my second time using it, so it really takes a little bit more than that for me to determine my full thoughts and opinions on a product. I'm just putting it on my chin as well. Actually, let's just put it all over the face. I think I am going to use those Buxom blushes in that palette, so it would be nice to have powder on to sort of soften them because they're quite strong. Now I want to get into bronzer, so I'm using this Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush bronzer. This is the shade 1 Fair. It's a very, I've mentioned this several times on my channel before, but it was in my earlier videos. So I wanted to bring this out again today. And I'm just using my large artist brush. And if you have very, very fair skin, I think this is such a nice bronzer because it adds that little bit of warmth and definition to the face. You can see I have it on this side, but it's not orange at all. It's just a nice sort of toasty color. And the matte finish on this is really gorgeous. And with fair skin, it can be difficult with bronzers. I love having lots of different bronzers and I love using different types of shades and so on. But with most bronzers, I have to be very careful to use a really light hand. So it's nice sometimes to just be able to have one that's so light like this one and just be able to not be quite as delicate with it and have a bit more fun with applying more and actually building it up. I'm quite curious about the medium shade of this because I think I could make that work for me too. And apparently, you know, it's the same formula, so it's also quite buildable. And I do wonder what that would be like on me. And I also wonder about mixing the medium with this shade. I think that could be really nice too. So maybe someday I'll grab that one if I can get it on sale. It'd be really nice to try that out. If you have fair skin and you have tried that medium one, let me know. I'd be curious about your experiences with it. Okay, so there we have the bronzer on. That's not a new product at all, but one that I haven't used in a little bit, so I really wanted to pull that out. And next, let's head into blush. So going back into this palette here, and I think I'll just mix these two shades together. And I'm going to use my Soft Cheek from Sonia G. And just one tap into each color and very lightly. Yeah, that's nice. If you use a light hand, this is no problem, but I do find them quite strongly pigmented. And they do have that same coconutty type scent as the other Buxom blushes, the primer infused blushes. There's the blush. I'm going to keep that close at hand in case I need to top it up a little bit after I do my highlighter, which for that is another part of this Buxom White Russian collection. And like the shadow palette, I've had this for probably about a month now. It's just the shade White Russian and it's called the Wanderlust Glow Highlighter. And it's in the exact same packaging as the blush. This is one of the blushes. And it's the same formula too, it's just a different shade, I think. It might be a little bit more metallic or a little bit shinier, but it has that same look and the same feeling. It's such an interesting color, and I'm gonna do a swatch later and compare it to another pink highlighter just because I want to show the difference, because I suppose this is a little bit pinky, but it's very beige and very toned down. But I think it looks really nice on my skin. So this is another product that if you have very fair skin like I do, you might really like this highlighter. So you can see it does have a little bit of a pink sheen to it, but it's I don't know how to describe it. It's neutral at the same time, but it has a little bit of cool pink in it. It's not glittery at all. You can't see any shimmer particles in it, but it's just really a smooth highlighter. It packs quite a punch, but at the same time, it's still very smooth and somewhat natural looking. Not really natural, but you know, it's not overly metallic. It's just a beautiful shine. Bright shine. I'll put some on my Cupid's bow too, and I'll put some on my brow bone and my inner corner. Just need to clean my brush again. flat definer again. See that on the inner corner there? I wanted to show you a comparison between the White Russian highlighter and another pink highlighter that I have, just so you can see the difference. So that's the White Russian, and you can see how sort of nude it is, and really it blends so nicely with my skin tone. And then I just wanted to compare it to this pink from the Charlotte Tilbury Bar of Gold, which is also like a sort of more muted pink. And that's the Charlotte Tilbury there. So they do look similar in tone, but I can see more brightness and more red in the pink. I mean, it's not even close to red, but it has more of a bit of a vibrant pink in it, whereas this one is almost more of a mauve in comparison. So again, they do look pretty similar when they're swatched, but there are different base colors going on there. I think this is a very nice highlighter, and I would recommend it if you're looking for something like what I've described that it's like. It's very nice, and it lasts a really long time too. My skin tends to kind of eat up cheek products, especially blush and highlighter, but I find that this one lasts really nicely. I am going to top up my blush a little bit, and then I'm going to buff, but I just want a bit too much blush on before I buff it out. Okay, and then taking my smooth buffer, and I want to clean up a little bit under the bronzer and so on. So going back with the cloud powder, just sort of diffusing that along the lower part of the cheek. I have a really big freckle here, so that kind of can make things look a little bit messy. So that's why there's that sort of darker patch right there. It's just a big freckle. So there is the face all finished. And last but not least, we're going to move on to lips. I'm going to take my Victoria Beckham liner. I think I'll use the shade 03 again today. And just lightly outline the lips. And for lipstick, the other part of the White Russian collection that I got, which is the Full Force lipstick, and it's the shade White Russian. This is really my kind of a shade. I always go for this type of shade when I see lipstick, so it's a nude pink. And this is the first Buxom lipstick I've ever tried, and I really like it. It's a satin formula. Feels really nice and smooth on the lips. It goes on really easily. It has a vanilla scent, but it does have a little bit of mintiness in it that you can feel when you put it on the lips. I suppose it's really more of a cool pink than a nude pink, but it's maybe a little bit of a toned down cool pink. And I find that as this wears, it does deepen up a little bit. I think it's really that your lips deepen up because of the mintiness, so it brings a bit more blood flow to your lips, which I suppose is meant for plumping. I'm not sure that it does that, but the lips do look nice and full when you use this. And yeah, so it does sort of sink into the lips a little bit and deepen up just a touch as you wear it. So this is the completed look. I hope you enjoyed watching this and seeing me try out some newer products and just let you know what my thoughts are on them so far. If you have any questions or any comments, I'd love to see those below. If you'd like to see more from me, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.